Who would have thought? Carl Kirkwood broke out his 100 stat. Again. Welcome back to Motorsport 100 plus one.
Very slick.
It rolls right off the tongue. Welcome to episode 645 of Motorsport 101. IndyCar, and we're back for that, and it's brand new debuting round, the Grand Prix of Arlington from, surprise, surprise, Polar Bear Land in Texas, depending on who you ask, because who didn't break out a polar bear in Arlington, Texas meme in the build-up to race week? It was just the lowest of low-hanging fruit. And with it, we got a twist. Carl Kirkwood wins, which, given it's a street circuit, actually isn't all that surprising. But hey, it's not Alex Palou, so the casuals are happy, apparently.
Well, the good news is he took a huge blow in the championship. He finished second.
Damn it! Carl Kirkwood is quickly becoming IndyCar's Andrea Dovizioso. If you know what I'm talking about, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I mention that man's work. I hope all 15 of you appreciate this reference. But joining me, as ever, just him, as he mentioned from last episode in F1, it's Cam Buckley. Hello, Cam.
Hello. It's every time I'm not here and Rinus VeeKay gets anywhere near Alex Palou, he just kills them. I'm so sick of it here. I'm so over it. And you were not clear, Alex. God damn it.
No, he wasn't. But it wasn't. But his spotter didn't tell him, so it was marginal. That happens on an oval sometimes. It's a shitter, but it's okay. Put the blowtorch down, Cam.
And the pliers. Oh, well, it's okay. It's okay. At least we got the one token RLL great performance per year. At an oval. On an oval,
that was something. What did you make? Because you obviously weren't here for our Phoenix episode, so we can quickly talk about it for a couple of minutes in the introduction segment of the podcast. What did you make of Phoenix?
It happened.
You're such a Palou fan. It's like,
no, honestly, I only really saw the highlights, and the highlights were basically that and Team Penske whooping ass.
To be fair, it was really Christian Rasmussen kicking ass for like the first 2/3 of it until he drove into the side of Will Power, because the man's got the patience of a 4-year-old in a sweet shop.
He has a pace stat of like 150 and an awareness stat of negative. He has no regard for his or anyone else's safety, but he's damn quick on an oval.
There's no doubt about that. He's now like top 5 for oval speed in the series. He's just got. If he was a little bit more patient, he wins that race comfortably. Yeah, and that's the end of it, quite frankly. But left the door open for Joseph Newgarden. We know what Newgarden's like on new tires and a comeback. And there's no better oval driver at carving through traffic than Joseph is. And that was it. Game over at that. But once he got past Pato, that was it. We knew how that story was going to end. For the first time in 622 days and 22 races, Joseph Newgarden is now your championship leader. Last time he had that was the middle of 2024. And then he wasn't, because now, for the first time, Carl Kirkwood is championship leader in IndyCar. Who'd have thought? Besides Ryan Eric King, possibly. Etc. That man, after Kimi Antonetti, is eating good this weekend. My God.
Yeah, all of King's chosen prospects all came good all at once. Next, we're going to see a KTM win a MotoGP race. Chance.
Don't start. Pedro Acosta teased that possibility in the sprint to Thailand. He's trying.
Lord, he's trying.
Lord, he is trying. We'll talk a little bit about Carl Kirkwood's incredible win over Alex Palou in the backside of Arlington, how we got there. Andretti winning despite every attempt from them not to over the course of that race. Arlington as a whole, and some of the issues with the Grand Prix in total, because I apparently pissed off a fair few people when I reviewed this race, and I want to address some of those concerns on my platform. So let's talk about it, as Trick Williams would say in the WWE. But first of all, places you can find us real quick, we're on youtube.com/motorsport101. We're on facebook.com/motorsport101. We're on Twitter at motorsport_101. We're on Blue Sky. Our personal handles are at Dre Harrison and at cbuckley917.bsky.social. RJ O'Connell is exactly how his name is spelt. We're on Instagram, motorsport101pod. We're on TikTok, M101_podcast. Our website, motorsport101.com, if you want to hear full written reviews of all of our content over there as well, including the Formula One race in China, and of course this very race we're about to talk about. And if you really, really like us, you can back us financially on Patreon, patreon.com/motorsport101. $5 gets you early access to all of our content. You can upgrade to the $10 tier to listen to these episodes live as they're being recorded. And breathe. So that is that. Without further ado, after this quick musical interlude, let's talk about IndyCar's Grand Prix of Arlington. Anyone for a polar bear? IndyCar made its debut in Arlington, and with a twist, one-shot qualifying in the final round instead of the usual fast six-minute time session. And the pole sitter, for the first time in a professional racing league since 2013, Marcus Ericsson. What the hell?
If you need a pole, I'll get you a pole.
What the hell just happened?
He's been on fire in qualifying thus far this year.
The pace, we cannot deny, apparently. He went first in that fast six session, and his time was not touched. Andretti,
no one even got close.
No, Palou was second, and he was half a second back. It was a dominant pole position by Marcus Ericsson. Allegedly, it seems with the way the warm-up was going with the tyres, it actually was an advantage to go first. Weird, but we'll talk more about that shortly. Yes, the last time Marcus Ericsson started a race of any kind on a professional level from pole was his final year of GP2, as we called it back then. Amazingly, Will Buxton commentated that race as well, 13 years ago. In the race itself, Ericsson led early, but a botched pit stop, one of 5 on the day for Andretti. Not joking. Gave the early lead to Alex Palou, who stretched it out to a 6-second gap. We all thought, oh no, it's St. Pete all over again. You've given Palou clean air. What have you just done? Etc., etc. But what we didn't notice, as we were talking a lot about willpower running an alternate strategy, more on that in a minute, was Kyle Kirkwood was the fastest man on track on his prime tyre. And, well, once he got clean air himself, he took off. He was gunning down Palou at about half a second a lap, got to the back of him, and with 15 laps to go, he sent one into the final corner right by pit entry. Palou took a business decision, really, if you ask me, to get out of the way. Kyle Kirkwood would go on to win, despite a very late caution. Christian Rasmussen's car got a technical problem and died. We had a one-lap dash for the cash that was quickly ended when Kiffin Simpson drove into the back of Nolan Siegel, and he collected Romain Grosjean. Not that we saw it on the hard camera. More on that later. I actually kind of feel bad for Nolan Siegel because he got piled on for something that wasn't his fault.
I did enjoy his reaction on the radio of like silence for about 6 seconds. So he just goes, "What the fuck?"
Right.
Honestly, I could definitely relate to that if what happened to him happened to me.
Fair. We had a one-lap dash for the cash, and it was ended after about 15 seconds because of that late caution. And that ended the race. Kyle Kirkwood, your winner, ahead of Alex Palou. Willpower on the podium in third. The revenge tour has finally gotten started for him in what was an Andretti 1-3-4 finish with Marcus Ericsson in 4th place. Andretti, once again, completely busted around the street track. With that, Carl Kirkwood takes his 6th win for Andretti in IndyCar. He's championship leader for the first time ever. He's got a 24-point lead on Alex Palou. First of all, I mean, let's go back to Saturday for a minute here, Cam, because we only found out about this late, that we were going to have one-shot qualifying in the Fast 6 round in Arlington. Apparently, this is also a trial to potentially make this the permanent change going forward. What did you make of it, mate?
I didn't watch it.
I didn't know this one.
I was at work. I know I did see, I tried to kind of half follow it via the socials, and I enjoyed me some one-shot qualifying just in general. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it should necessarily be like one car at a time, just for time's sake.
Sure.
But I like being able to, like, having drivers go out, run the fastest lap you can, nothing else is of consequence. I generally like that kind of format.
Sure. I watched it live, so I'll be able to give a bit more in depth as to how I feel about it. I'm actually the opposite to Cam. Typically, I'm not a big one-shot qualifying fan. I think it's a little bit boring on TV to see just one car do a lap at a time. I get the ultimate pressure feel of it by having one lap to nail your execution and try and take pole position. I don't inherently hate it. I'm just not the biggest fan of it. I'm kind of neutral on the whole thing. The actual concept was fine, but the big problem was the presentation. And
remember this part, it becomes important later this weekend.
What he said. Because the thing was that once we actually got going, the timing tower converts over to this new format, and the timer as it ticks by, it's like the GPS is, but without the detail, in the sense of if you're under, you're in green, and if you're over, you're in red. But we don't know by how much. Most of the time with these runners, Ericsson, because the way the session played out, Ericsson went first, because obviously they went in reverse fast 12 order, i.e. the top 6 that made it through, so 6th place goes first, assuming that, the guy that was fastest in the fast 12 has the advantage of knowing what his target time is and gets to go last. Ericsson set the fastest time in the session, not that we knew it, by going first. So for 90% of the session after that, it was just guys with their time being red constantly, because they were significantly, like, over a second slower in some instances. And we didn't get sector splits. Now, this is the most basic fucking error that I think you could have if you're Fox. Every motorsport series on Earth in a qualifying session has sector splits. IndyCar doesn't. Why? You can't see Cam, but Cam's pondering it in his box as we speak right now. Just.
Huh? I'm trying to figure out how to say something that won't get us canceled on the internet.
It's beyond stupid.
It's so, like, Fox keeps trying to reinvent the wheel when it comes to the graphics and presentation. Just give us what every other racing series in the world does. It's not that fucking hard.
This is not difficult. Just have second. Because the thing is, right, we need a reference point. If you're not going to bring the ghost laps like you normally do during oval runs in, you didn't get that here. And if you're going to have this GPS style timing where it goes green and red in real time, we need context. Because you've got that for the first 2 rounds already, where we get the GPS times and we have a rough idea.
We know it's in your system. We know that you have it.
So why not just do a version of that as a reference point in the Fast 6? But we don't. It's just, is it green or is it red? With no context. It's
like they're trying to dumb it down as hard as possible for the casuals, to the point where there's just not a whole lot to understand, because he's not giving us any information.
And the problem is, that didn't work either, because, like, Alex Palou was the last man up. He ended up being half a second slower than Marcus, roughly. And there was flashes of green across his lap, so you're thinking, he must be close. this must be really close because he keeps flashing green and red. So you're probably, okay, this must be quite tight then. He crosses the line. He's half a second slower. After the session, I pull up Timing 71, which is the third-party app that has live timing for a lot of sessions like IndyCars does. He was down in all three sectors. So it didn't make any sense.
It doesn't sounds like they were having technical issues.
Yeah, so they were
Keep that in mind. It becomes important later.
So again, they had technical issues, and their one reference point for lap times was not working properly. So the format itself was fine. The only thing I didn't like about the format itself was there was a commercial break after 3 cars ran. There was a mid-session commercial.
That's as Fox as it gets, really.
Yeah, that's just classic Fox. They put a commercial out after 3 cars had run. So we just sat there for 5 minutes with nobody running because they had to get a commercial in for TV. So everyone's just sat in the box doing nothing, which again, okay, fine, commercial break, whatever. I'm not a fan of it, but I get why it needs to be done sometimes, whatever. Which is my whole point. If you're going to have one shot, it makes sense because having just a 6-minute final session in qualifying is bad for TV. Like, it goes by too quickly for people to care about it. So, like, qualifying was already messy, especially in the sense of they were also like a second lap slower than they were in the Fast 12 because IndyCar's tyres take 2 laps to warm up, not 1. You only get the 1 warm-up lap before your timed lap goes. So again, if you want to see the ultimate time or the ultimate speed of these IndyCars, you're not getting it in the Fast 6, you're getting it in the round of 12. So again, it's these are tweakable. These are not game-breakingly bad things. These are things that are very easily fixed. I think I got no problem if IndyCar wants to go one-shot qualifying for Fast 6 permanently. Just clean it up, basically.
Right.
It's fine. If anything, it makes more sense from a TV standpoint because you can stretch your broadcast out a little bit longer and give your commentators more time to tell the story. And Buxton, I'll give him his credit, is a very good storyteller. That's his strongest element of him as a commentator. He's good at He's good at making the moment. It's like Alex Jakes. Not quite as good as Jakes, because Jakes is a beautiful monologue teller. He's so good at that when it comes to, getting the big moment down. But you're hemorrhaging your own commentary box when you're making 6 cars do 6 laps in basically 6 minutes. So, yeah, that's my opinion on qualifying, basically. Let's talk about the race itself, Cam, and let's talk about the on-track performances first. I mean, there are
what the hell is it with Andretti and street tracks?
Again, this happens every time. Like, this was new. This was like Long Beach all over again because they've always been busted at Long Beach. They had a 1-3-4 a couple of years ago at Long Beach. This is a spec series where you only get to change damper settings, and yet
the dampers on those Andrettis are crack here.
I don't know how they keep doing this, but
the problem is that often they hide how they do it by being absolutely terrible at other things, whether that is reliability, whether that is racing each other, or whether so often these days it's in the pit lane. And Andretti tried every trick in the book to lose this race in the pit lane.
They had 8 pit stops across their 3 cars because Ericsson and Kirkwood ran 3 stoppers. Power ran a 2-stopper. 5 of them had a degree of error. I've never seen that from an IndyCar team before. 5 of 8.
Their F1 team is brand new and they're better.
And it wasn't even like it was one specific problem. There was a range. Like there was two wheel guns that weren't working properly. Power had to be held outside of the fast lane because he was released into the path of Louis Foster. They were like loose wheel nuts came into play. Like this was just bad. It was just sloppy work across the board. And Andretti literally tried to lose this race in the pits.
They were just too fast. Kirkwood was just too fast, especially in that final stint to do so. And his second to last stop was atrocious. Like, he lost multiple seconds in that stop. But just incredible pace down the stretch. In addition to the fact that they had power out there on the two-stopper, and he was able to not so much back up Palou, but wouldn't let Palou get into the clean air mode that he goes into. And that move, he more or less gave him the full Max Verstappen, I'm going to put my car here. It's up to you whether we're going to have an accident moment. And Palou's like, fine, go take it. I'll take the points.
Yeah,
That's what he does.
Outside, I'll give Andretti this. Outside of the pit stops, which ultimately the team itself can't control, human error, it happens. Strategically, they will absolutely bang on. Like, if you've got 3 bullets in the chamber, general rule of thumb, you put your second fastest man on the alternate. And by doing that, they gave Will Power track position because he was running a two-stop strategy. The only other man who tried it was Felix Rosenquist, and he bailed on that strategy halfway through because he couldn't do it. So Power was the only significant runner in the back half of that race on a two-stop strategy. And you're right, it did mess with Palou's race a little bit because he didn't quite get enough clean air to put enough of a gap out there to hold on to it in the back half. Because, and to be fair to Kyle, he teased it in qualifying. He said his black tyre pace was incredible, and he was right. It was incredible. At one point, he was
completely dominant over the rest of the field. No one else was even close on the black tire.
At his best, he was a second a lap faster than Palou, which is crazy given how good we know.
Doesn't happen these days.
Like, Palou's bread and butter is black tire runs. He loves the primary, and he loves pounding it into submission for his lap time. And Kirkwood blew him away. Like, if this was NBA 2K, Kirkwood would be a legitimate 100 on street tracks now. He's just so goddamn fast on them now. It's ridiculous. If he gets a clean street track race, he's gonna win it now because it's a completely busted stat. It's like Palou on the Indy road course whenever he's got a black tire run. You can't touch him. Incredible stuff.
And to that effect, how good was Palou that he was the only person who broke up a completely dominant Andretti on that day as well.
Yeah, I mean, the next nearest non-Andretti was Pato O'Ward, who's had a very solid season so far. The only man who's finished top 5 in every race except for Kyle Kirkwood. 5.45 so far this season. He was 17 seconds behind Palou at the flag. Palou is in a different postcode to the rest of the field right now.
Yeah, because Scott Dixon looking a little old these days this weekend. Still had a pretty good race, but gave himself so much work to do.
By qualifying P20.
Yeah, you qualify P20, there's not a whole lot you're going to be able to do, especially with little to no caution to then play with, because the caution we got pretty much was at the end of the race. It was irrelevant to the strategies that were run. Yeah, because we know Scott Dixon, he loves a good alternate strategy, and miraculously ending up 4th.
Yeah, tried it. He tried it this time. I think it was about lap 5. He came in for a change of tires just to go off sequence, and there was nothing. Could you have guessed for this messy fucking layout in Arlington for a 70 lap, 1 hour 50-minute race that we got one caution right at the end for a technical error with 3 laps to go?
Yeah, the only crash we got. We got a couple crashes and spins. We just never got them to the point where there was a caution. Mick Schumacher spun himself out, sadly. And Joseph Newgarden had to turn right and was released into the path of David Malukas, who then basically hip checks him into a spin because he's coming out of the pits.
I don't even fully blame Newgarden for that one, really, because that pit exit was janky. It's
not a good layout.
And we're going to get to this now, right? I think now's a good time to start talking about it. I mean, I get what they were trying to do here with this, and you could clearly tell what the big showpiece was, the 1.2 kilometer my man's broken out the MJF mid meme on his phone and talking about it. My God, those who think podcast isn't a visual medium, that's why you back us on Patreon. But yeah, I mean, they wanted the big showpiece to be that 1.2 kilometer long straight, talking about 200 miles an hour down there. They didn't get to see one.
No, it was like 190 on the top end on the push to pass. I
think we peaked at about 192 with Kirkwood, and so not quite 200, about more like 185 without a slipstream. Right. Which is amazing given that this is a 750 horsepower car with 1.2 kilometers of straight, because it wasn't really a straight. It was very narrow and very curvy and very bumpy.
Yeah, the surface. I mean, we won't. Sebring is this weekend. We're not going to get talking about repaving Sebring because we don't want to get shot.
No,
as I'll be the one doing the shooting. But there's very good reason why Sebring has stayed the surface that it is, because you'd have to redo the whole track layout. It functions as slowing the cars down. Well, this surface was so bumpy, and I mean, if you catch a bump wrong, you're just going straight into the wall. There's no recovery time. It just slowed the track down. Not a whole lot happened overall.
And the funny thing about that is that it's partially that. It's also partially the problem that half the overtakes we saw had to be via Hickey93 on Twitter with access to the onboards because the overtakes were not shown on the main broadcast.
Well, funny you mentioned that because fair portions of the main broadcast were not on the main broadcast because the broadcast didn't fucking work.
We watched this race via partially shady means. We'll be honest about this here on this show. King watched it via IndyCar Live on IndyCar's website, which is, again, the service you pay for in America if you want to watch the races. We watched it via that, and then King obviously live streams that to a Discord server that we were all in.
I have to bleep out his name so he doesn't fall foul of the terms of service.
Yeah. There'll be a big shotgun shell in the background from about 10 seconds ago in the post-production edit. But no, I was going to say, like, it's the problem was that the video quality was directly tied with the bandwidth. So if there was any bandwidth issues at the track, which there has been notoriously in IndyCar over the last few years, it would slow down. There'd be a lag spike, and it would slow down the video player.
And you could tell when this was about to happen because everything would turn into PlayStation 2 via composite on a HD TV quality.
Ah, yes.
Muddy.
Crispy. You gotta get that good 244 or whatever it is, that good 144p, like you're recording with a potato.
It was shit. Like,
it was bad.
At the same time that you've got at the same time where you've got like NASCAR doing on this same network, no less, like 4K feeds in the Fox Sport app. Upscaled 4K, it's still 4K, it still looks really good. When you've got Formula One streaming in friggin' Dolby Vision and 4K, IndyCar was supposed to get a sort of broadcasting revolution here, and it's just been technical problems. They look like minnows punching up at everybody.
They look Bush League. There's no getting around it. And like I said, a lot of people got pissed off at me that I scored this race a 5 out of 10 on the website. And I stand by that rating. If I was going purely by the action, I'd have probably been generous and said 6. But I knocked a point off because the legal way of watching your race was fundamentally flawed. There was errors in the production truck in terms of showing the action. They were far too focused on Will Power when he was leading the race because there was the middle portion. There was genuine action in the midfield that we weren't seeing. We didn't see much of McLaughlin's comeback through the field, given he started from 25th.
He had a phenomenal race, Scott McLaughlin, and we saw maybe we saw the very tail end of him getting to where he got.
Yeah, we saw that. We didn't get that. Like I said, you had to go see Hickey93 on Twitter, credit to him, for posting the onboards, and including the big one. And again, I feel sorry for Nolan Siegel here, because Siegel was immediately blamed for that final lap caution that we got. Because in the context of the replay and how they showed it here, we had it where it looks like Siegel's hit Grosjean and taking him out on that final lap. He gets piled on Twitter for a bunch of abuse for causing that accident, which is already not acceptable, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. And then it was only when Hickey posts the onboards did we find out that Siegel was helped into the wall by Kiffin Simpson,
who just drove into the back of him. And Kiffin, brother, you can't have that livery looking that shit out on track.
But this is the
we didn't see. Yeah. We didn't see the replay. We saw one replay of the incident from the front. That's all we got.
Yeah, and
we're under yellow.
The camera panned too late to catch Simpson's contact, so all we saw was Siegel sideways. So fundamentally, you've missed the incident.
Even if you've missed the incident, they have the onboards. We never saw it on the broadcast. It only got disseminated out on the social feeds, and not from the official account.
And they had the time, because this race was 98% caution free. Like, this was best case scenario of the TV time.
All we watched on the final caution was just the leader was Kirkwood circulating around.
Yeah, it reminds me, and again, Ed makes a great point in the chat here. It's like Sam Bird's upside down crash in Riyadh in Formula E when he's upside down, and it was only when we saw it on CCTV after the broadcast was over did we see that he was punted, was upside down in the escape road, and Mitch Evans actually stops his car in an incredible act of sportsmanship to check if Bird was okay, because he's seen the whole incident in front of him. It was that horror crash. I remember that one in Formula E very well. But it's fundamental broadcasting mistakes. And I had a couple of people tell me, well, Dre, you could have always found the IndyCar radio broadcast and fired up a live timing app. And I'm like,
well, actually, the fact that the broadcast that we are given does not work is not the win you think it is.
I don't need multi-viewer, no disrespect to them, to enjoy a Formula One race, in the same way that if your excuse is you need 2 third-party broadcasting tools to enjoy your race properly, your broadcast is fundamentally failed, because your main broadcast is supposed to cover all of that. Why do I need to pull up an app to have live timing available when your timing towers often don't work?
That IndyCar doesn't run as well.
Yeah, because
that's a third part. Like, well, if you're a real fan,
that's the IMS production truck. Just to be clear on that.
Yeah, like, we're not lesser fans because we don't want to jump through hoops to watch the fucking racing.
No,
that's such a stupid take.
You're just excusing bad production. Like, why are you excusing that?
Please, like my dumb sport bullshit.
Right.
No, you're not. You're not allowed to. Why is it we're not allowed to ask better of our sports?
Because we're doing really, really well. Shut up and enjoy it. And you're a hater for not enjoying it. Because, look, I'll give them this. The TV rating was great. Popped to 1.3. They've had a fantastic start to their season in terms of TV ratings. They're up 54% on their top 3 rounds from last year. This is the best they've done post-merger. So fair play to them. It's working.
Sure. But they're up 54% on jack shit. Because this is where IndyCar has been. We are just now, like, the needle is just moving after nearly 18 years of it not moving.
Because they finally listened to people and decided to actually front load their schedule rather than waiting a month between St. Petersburg and the fucking Thermal Club.
Thank God that shit's over.
Like, long
Thermal Club, which, by the way, let's not forget, last year's Thermal Club race is still lost media for fair portions of that race.
Yeah, like, I don't like talking about IndyCar in this way because, one, its fan base gets very sensitive about it if you call them out for a lot of this shit. Because I get it, niche of a niche, you want to protect your very hardcore love. I understand that. I've been there over fixations myself. I get it. But it's okay to want better. And it's okay to demand better, especially when your main broadcaster has bought a third of your series and a third of the IMS racetrack, invested $140 million plus into this sport. At what point do you go, I demand better? Because you should be better with the amount. You're Fox. You haven't got an excuse. You really don't. Figure it out.
So even at the barest fucking minimum and the worst of what we've seen out of NASCAR and Fox, which has, like, this year has been a little better, but it still suffers from severe degrees of Clint Boyer in the commentary booth. It's like Kevin Harvick with eloquent, simple, easy to digest commentary. Look at Rod heading off down into that turn right there. It's fucking, it's exhausting.
You know how annoying it is? I've done a complete U-turn on Kevin Harvick because he's such a good broadcaster.
He's so good at it, man.
He is the most
phenomenally good.
He is the most naturally gifted driver turned broadcaster since James Hinchcliffe, and that is about as 100%. High praise as I can give him. He's fantastic. He does a brilliant job there. He does a brilliant job on speed. Like, the podcast, not the actual.
How dare you stand where he stood? How dare that stand where it stood?
Anyway. I know a lot of people are pissed off about using the speed name to basically reboot as a fucking podcast.
If I had a desk, I'd be smashing it.
But
I'm gonna go smash my door. Anyway, back to my point. Even at the worst of what we've seen out of NASCAR and Fox, we could say the NASCAR broadcast has been functional. It has worked.
I'm not sitting there, and I've watched NASCAR all season. I've not sat there going, oh, God, this broadcast sucks. That's with Clint Boyer's presence.
Because that's like, you can not like the commentary. That's an entirely different conversation. On a purely technical level.
Yeah, it's fine.
Fox and IndyCar has done a piss poor job.
Yeah. And again, it's not fully on Fox. This is partly also the IMS production truck.
I said Fox and IndyCar.
Yeah.
They both, it takes two to tango in this regard.
Yeah. Like, between them, they have been poor for over a season now. And I'm shocked it's not called out more frequently because they have, like, we just came off Phoenix where we didn't get a working timing tower for the first half hour of the broadcast. Which is completely unacceptable.
Dre, you got it in one earlier on in the segment. It looks Bush League. And for a series that wants to punch up at its competitors, at NASCAR,
sure,
and at Formula One, at the barest minimum, you got to have your shit work. You know, the rest can come in time. If your broadcast just doesn't work right, you've already undone any good you can build on top of that.
Right. And if people want to be sensitive to that, and if you want to at me on Blue Sky, go right ahead at Dre Harrison and tell me how much I suck, or that I'm not a proper fan.
Here too.
But, like, I'll hear any argument all day long, but I watch multiple motorsport series. Okay, yes, a higher standard is expected of places like Formula One, of MotoGP, because they've got the bigger budgets. They can throw more money at this. And look, they have their issues too. Right, and I'm not saying that they're perfect amongst all of this, right? But if you're wanting to be a network that's got 1.5 million people watching your races every week, they deserve a better broadcast. It's really that simple. And
Trey, do you know any IMSA fans bigger than me currently living? Besides maybe RJ O'Connell?
No.
Yeah, IMSA's broadcast during Daytona made me want to tear my hair out for half the race. Because the TV direction was just really wacky at times.
Yeah.
But again, on a technical level, it worked.
Yes. The biggest one was the commentary box and decisions made in the booth to show certain fights at certain times. Yeah. I get it. Live TV is hard. I need to stress, live TV is difficult. But you've got enough experience in there to get this right. And
NBC could do it.
Yeah.
Why can't you?
And yeah, it really is that simple. I mean, what did you make of Arlington as a venue before we get out of here, Cam? Because this is something that IndyCar's been wanting to hang its hat on for a while. This was 2.5 years in the making. This was meant to be their great big showcase event for the regular season, not named the 500. What did you make of it?
We're talking about as a racetrack.
As a racetrack, as a venue, as an event, sure. He's broken out bit again.
I would say as an event, fine. There was some brand activation around it.
Sure.
Like all the pageantry aside, just think the layout's just kind of whatever.
I think it's got potential. And I say that because you're running it in a glorified parking lot. You can move shit around.
The core of this track ain't bad. I think you clean up some of the details. You start with a bulldozer on that pit lane exit. That was shit. And laughably so.
Yeah.
God. I'm not going to say anything mean about Sebring because I love Sebring, but that pit exit too was questionable at best.
Yeah, it's not great.
That's just part of the appeal of the bumps. You might, hit a bump and blast someone.
You know what Sebring's pit exit is? It's like South Korea when F1 used to race there. Just that awful pit exit through turn one. It's like the outside swinging in is like
it's designed to be, but it's designed to be diabolical. It's not accidentally diabolical. It feels like this one is the latter. Fix the pit exit. I would say resurface that not straight to smooth it out, get some extra speed here. I think you can make a good racetrack out of this.
I don't hate the layout. The layout I think is a bit mid, but I think there's potential there. You've got a parking lot. You can play with this a little bit. You've actually got some room to work with this. That's the luxury of doing this in a car park, essentially. You can make changes. And I think...
Just save some money on a free agency contract. It's not like the Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl anyway.
Not with them franchise tagging George Pickens anyway. But it is one of those where I go... The slow parts of the track were bad. The pit exit is bad. The straight is janky. It needs a lot of cooperation to make two cars go side by side down it. That needs fixing. As an overall event, it was good. I'm not Will Buxton levels of glaze when he's putting out a video on Speed saying this needs to be the gold standard for IndyCar going forward, because you put 2.5 years of effort into this and not everybody's got that kind of budget. This was a Jerry Jones event. I need to make one thing very clear about this. If there's one person that will throw the money at it, it's Jerry Jones.
The money is never the problem with Jerry now, is it?
No. Jerry Jones wants to put on a big event because that's what Dallas Cowboys are all about. They are about pomp and circumstance, not necessarily winning, right? So
never winning,
etc. I mean, Carl Kirkwood's now got as many home playoff wins as most of the Dallas Cowboys current roster does, but it's
not a high bar to clear, friend.
But they did the other things to make it worthwhile. There was a lot of brand activations, a lot of Texas-themed stuff. The Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders was there. They had T-Pain down there for a concert that was sadly cancelled due to the wind. Note, they had All Time Low down there. With the accusations leveled against that band, they should not have been invited. If you know, you know why. Once again, IndyCar's vetting process has been dog shit for the last year. That needs to be addressed because this keeps happening, and I don't think it's by accident. If you know, you know. Doesn't take a lot.
I do not. I'll Google it later.
Yeah,
I will take your word for it.
You won't need to do a lot of Googling, content warnings, etc. But yeah, I see the potential in Arlington overall. It's a good venue. It's got good activations. It got good pull. The drivers seem to really like it, which always helps with the PR battles and what have you.
That's Formula One these days.
Right, the opposite. But the point is, an event like Arlington makes IndyCar like a bigger deal than it is. And your fans will respond to that in kind. Like I said, IndyCar's actually retaining viewers for the first time in like 18 years this year. I can't deny it's not working. Like, this was a good event. There is potential here in Arlington, which is something I don't normally say about something in IndyCar. Like, there is something aspirational here that they can work on. But they need to stop leaving shit on the table at the production truck. That's my big problem.
And that's the thing. If it looks like a bigger deal than it is, that is your bridge to make it that bigger deal. But then if you reach more people and you look Bush League, that's going to turn some people off.
Right. And there's no guarantee that other venues are going to replicate what Jerry Jones has done by putting this event off in Arlington. Like, we lost Iowa this year. We've lost a boatload of really good tracks that would still welcome back on the calendar in a heartbeat. Like, shout out to Elizabeth Blackstock, who mentioned it on Blue Sky Captain as, why aren't we racing at Watkins Glen, etc.
I would kill for some IndyCar at Watkins Glen. I just wish that anyone would actually go to fucking watch it.
Right. So, when we've talked about this on the show before about burnt bridges and burnt relationships and what have you, IndyCar needs to start convincing these circuit promoters to put more in, because this is my last overarching point about this Grand Prix. This was a good event, but the whole thing was 30 minutes away from Texas Motor Speedway. Now, don't get me wrong. Texas had its shortcomings. It was PJ1 into oblivion, and the local promotion team gave up. But in its prime, Texas is one of the headline venues on the IndyCar calendar.
It was.
And it's gone. Was this better than what the best of Texas could produce? Spoiler alert, no.
No, not even close. The problem for Texas was, of course, we had a 3-year stretch where it basically wasn't a race. It was the PJ1 is lava.
Yes.
If you touch that, you die. It was that simple.
We had no high line.
Yeah, we had no high line. We had no middle line. It was run the low line and pray you don't go up there until about halfway through the second to last race we had here, by which time any interest in the race had died.
Yeah.
We got one last great race. If a 10 out of 10 IndyCar race happens and no one's there to watch it, did it really happen? Bring it back that mean this year.
Yeah. There was a half-full Texas where Pato O'Ward had to buy a boatload. I think it was 1,000 tickets he had to buy himself to bundle it in with his merchandise. Please come to my race, etc.
The employees were subsidizing the race at that stage.
Yeah.
I had this idea after the race. Why not do a doubleheader weekend? Pure sicko mode. One here, one at Texas.
It will take a lot of organizing, but that could be fun.
It'd be so cool, though.
It would be. The Texas double. The Speedway and the road course in one weekend. Or even do it back-to-back weekends. That's possible. If you can't logistically pull off 2 races like that in 2 days, then why not, right? Think outside the envelope for once as a series, Just a thought.
Right.
Like I said, good event. I would still take Texas back in a heartbeat if they were actually able to resolve their issues. Just a thought. IndyCar is back in just over a week's time. It's weirdly to say we're doing a Barber race in March. But yeah, it's the earliest we've ever done the Grand Prix of Alabama at Barber on March. I think it's March 29th. That'll be then, and we'll review that for IndyCar's last race.
Check it out. The livery. Bring it back.
Bring back the HRC livery, etc. We'll talk about that then. We'll be back next week to talk MotoGP's first race in Brazil for 22 years. Their return to the Ayrton Senna circuit. Gonna be Brazil.
We don't have the soundboard here. I'm sure you could edit that in if you ask Rezzy.
If I really wanted to, I could just put that in, but I can't be bothered. But yes,
Sure we'll talk a little bit of Sebring because it's Sebring. Yes. Everyone loves Sebring.
Everyone loves Sebring. 12 hours this weekend as well. A good time by all. Until then, I've been Dre Harrison. He's been Cam Buckley. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and we'll see you guys next week. Sayonara.
What a shame that Alex Palou's overall stats are only all in 99.
It's a pink diamond, not a Galaxy Opal. What a shame.